Welcome to Imagine Peace, the podcast that invites you on a transformative journey toward a world filled with harmony and understanding. Together, let's ignite the flame of peace within ourselves and radiate it outward so we can have a future where unity prevails. This is Imagine Peace, where dreams become reality. Join us as we explore the power of compassion, the beauty of diversity, and the potential for positive change. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Imagine Peace. I'm MarBeth with my partner and co-founder of 10 Million for World Peace, Teri Angel. And today we have a wonderful guest. We're just so thrilled that she's joined us today. Andrea Isaacs is the empowerment coach transformational leaders and entrepreneurs turn to when navigating tumultuous times of change without losing their tempers or crushing souls. The driving force behind her Emotional Mastery Institute, she fortifies leaders for today's world. In times of constant change, global upheaval, and challenging market conditions, her expertise is not just an asset, it is a necessity. And with decades of experience in embodiment practices, emotional mastery, and neuroscience, her insights are more vital than ever. A motivational speaker in 29 countries, she is on a mission to equip others to make a lasting impact in this world of uncertainty. Wow, Andrea, we are just so excited that you're here with us.
Oh, my goodness. I'm so happy to be here with both of you.
So your work is amazing. So talking about, the work that you do, would you like to tell us a little bit about it and how it might impact global peace?
Well, absolutely. Would that we could bring global peace about in this conversation, and that's a little too big. However, here's what we can do. We all create a ripple in our lives. No matter who we are, what we think, feel, or do, our actions, our thoughts, feelings, and actions have a ripple effect, and it affects our world. With that in mind, every one of us is a leader. And what we can do is create a ripple of kindness. And there are a lot of things that go into whether people are or aren't, and why they are and why they aren't. So one of the things I do is I help them connect to their hearts. And sometimes really deep and hiding deep in our heart is a longing, which is connected to our life purpose. You could call it a divine purpose or your North Star, a guiding light, a reason why you're here. And I believe when we connect to that, a lot of the hurt, anger, pain, frustration, worry, longing, all of that starts to dissolve because we're in alignment. So this is the shorter answer. There's a lot more to be said, but the shorter answer is the way that my work does impact global peace is by bringing people to the core of who they are so they can create a ripple of love, of connection, and of peace.
Wow. I love that. Great answer, by the way.
Thank you.
So, Andrea, what does world peace mean to you? And do you think it's possible?
Oh, my goodness. Well, what does it mean to me? I'll start with that. My deep desire is that everyone is seen, heard, understood, and honored. Because each one of us has different perspectives. What we're seeing in the world right now is that really blown up. And when there are, to call these difficult topics, that's an understatement, but you know what I'm talking about. Any difficult conversation, when people disagree, when they have different opinions, different objectives, on a smaller scale, but what we all can do in our world is to have conversations that begin with kindness and connection and talk about a greater context, like what's the big picture that where we're connected, where we are connected, where we want the same thing, whether it's global peace or let's call it global peace. Let's say that's something I would hope that in the goodness of their hearts, those leaders in our world want that too. They all have different routes about how to get there. But when we open our minds to different perspectives and other people feel heard and understood and honored, and I like to include compassion and curiosity. When we hear an opinion, a perspective that's different than ours, it's very easy to not have compassion, to create judgment. And that closes our minds and our hearts so that we can't really understand. And the other person, the other country, the other world, the other leader isn't heard or understood or honored. And the clash continues. And that happens on a small scale. It happens on a big scale. This is actually really related to a process I have called the 5 C's of challenging conversations. I'm being encouraged to rename it to effective communication. It's the same thing. The point is, when there is not world peace, when there's not inner peace, we all have to learn how to have quality conversations where everyone is seen, heard, understood, and honored. And to do that with compassion, because we don't know what we don't know. And when we open our hearts and our minds to really listen, we start to understand why that person thinks and feels the way they do, why that person does the thing that person does. And from that perspective, hopefully the other person can exchange and do that as well. When both parties in a conversation do that, a different resolution, a resolution that can address what both parties want, and the torment, the chaos, the craziness can stop, and then there can be peace.
Really beautiful. So let's talk about being in your most authentic power. Why does showing up in your most authentic power, why is that the key to peace and being an empowered leader?
Well, when we're holding back, we're not being fully who we are. In fact, yesterday I was having a conversation with someone who said, I'm always holding back. I can't be who I am. There are very few people where I can really be me. And that has a ripple effect too. When we're not fully ourselves and we're holding back, there's that holding back creates a contraction inside. It creates maybe a feeling I don't feel safe here. It might create a hurt or an anger or worry and frustration and difficulty. It doesn't allow us to express our thoughts, our ideas, our opinions, to take a stand for who we are. We can't take a stand for who we are if we're not authentically being who we are. And what I've discovered in looking at someone's emotional mastery blueprint is why that is. Because when we're holding back, I've seen this every time to say, I don't want to say it's always true, but I've seen this so many times that it's just so often true that there is a reason that goes way back, probably in childhood, when that person got the message, I don't have time for you. You want what? Who are you? You can't have that. We don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. And that person starts to take on the belief and to create the neural pathway that, I guess I don't matter. My thoughts don't matter. Mom and dad don't care what happened at school today. I guess I won't share it anymore. So they start to hold back. And what happens when that's repeated again and again and again, that neural pathway gets stronger, stronger, stronger. And the whatever it is that you want, that this person wants, starts to get smothered to the point that they can't even hear it. They don't know it. They don't know what they want. They'll start acting and living based on what other people expect, based on trying to be a responsible provider or whatever, not connected to who they truly are. So instead of having like inner peace and creating a ripple of peace, they're creating a ripple of not being who they are, not being seen, heard, understood, and honored. And that, I believe that's one of my core values. When we're not seen, heard, understood, and valued, we start to shrink. And that has a ripple effect then too. That is just difficult. It's just so difficult.
So how does your work impact global peace? Because
of the ripple. Every one of us creates a ripple. When our ripple is, I don't know what I want. And so I'm going to do something I don't like. And then I'm frustrated. I don't really like what I'm doing. Then I come home and I'm frustrated at my partner. And then I lash out, and then I'm short-tempered. And then that person has a ripple. That person who's receiving that frustration is hurt, and they create a ripple of hurt, and that ripple creates another ripple, and every person you impact is impacted by your ripple. It's the ripple effect. And so I think world peace starts with each individual creating a ripple of kindness and their own inner peace, and that is contagious. It's what a ripple does. It's contagious.
It is. It truly is. Everything that we do spins out in energy. So, Andrea, you understand that we are using meditation as our tool for sending energy out into the world. So why do you think that's important for us to use meditation and to go inward and then send that outward?
Well, that's a beautiful ripple that we create when we are in meditation. One of the meditations that I often guide my students and clients in is I like to call it the 3 centers meditation. And it often is a standalone, and often I use it with a theme. And I'll describe it here with the theme, because this is a theme that has become my North Star, my guiding light. It's asking myself the question, who's the me I want to be? And I invite you and all of our listeners to use that question, to ask yourself, who's the me I want to be? Now, it's easy to be that me when life is going great. Whenever, I'm sitting, or if I'm sitting on top of a mountain meditating in some beautiful location, it's easy. When push comes to shove, when life challenges you, when someone pushes your buttons, that is when it really matters. So I would suggest that we pose the question and then do the following. So I guide them with breathing to get centered and grounded and to connect to planet Earth, which is a home of easy, grounded, natural self-confidence, and to let that grounded energy rise up from planet Earth, rise up through the foundation of your home, rise up through the soles of your feet, rise up your legs, and coming to rest for a moment in your belly center. And then I invite people to place one or both palms on their belly center and to just be in that place of grounded, easy, natural self-confidence, the home of honoring and listening to and honoring your gut knowing. And from this place, answer the question, from this energy, how and who is the me I want to be? Do I want to be grounded and confident? Do I want to be shy and contracted? Well, it's usually not the latter. So just to come into your answer to the question there, and then I let them sit there for a bit, and then I have that energy rise. I suggest that let that energy rise up your spine and come to rest in your heart center, the home of your love, your connection, the home of your heart's longing, really the home of your life purpose too, the home of your heart's wisdom, the home of your inner child who still wants you and your loving attention and so on, and wants to be heard, wants his or her needs to be heard. And from this place, answer the question, who's the me I want to be? And to just be still and quiet and notice what arises. And then we do the same thing, letting that energy rise up our spine to our head center. And this way we can either put both palms on the third eye point or with the hands in a prayer position and the thumbs touching the third eye point. I invite people to do the same thing, to focus on our thinking center, the home of our wisdom, the home of our intellectual understanding, the home of our ideas, the home of our imagination, and to focus on this place. And from this place, answer the question, who is the me I want to be? And to just notice what arises. And then after that, I have them sit with all 3 centers and to imagine that all 3 centers are aligned and balanced. And I suggest, 3 centers in 2 hands. Would that we had 3 hands, right? But we can move them back and forth and really imagine that we adjust the volume so that we can hear and sense them all equally. And then ask the question, answer the question, who is the me I want to be, with all of this in alignment? And I believe that creates a beautiful ripple. And I've seen it change people's lives. And by changing their lives, it changes how they show up in their family, how they show up in business. I had one client who was known for being a tough nut. He was a senior leader and everyone complained about his anger. And in fact, when I worked with him, I learned that he had been divorced 3 times because of his anger. And then we went a little deeper and I learned that his father had been very physically abusive to him. And he modeled his father. He thought that's how men are. He modeled that. It makes sense. I can have compassion for that because it came from that place of loving his dad and wanting to be like his dad. But when he realized what he had lost because of it, that his children were afraid of him and that he was in a new relationship and he didn't want to blow it. So he did this work with me and something shifted in his heart. And I work a lot with mantras and mudras. And I know you two know this, but just for our audience, the mantras are words and phrases, and the mudras are body positions, traditionally a prayer or meditation position. I take a lot of creative license with both. And so at the end of our session, he stood up and he took a step forward and he said, I dropped the baggage and took a step forward into the ring of emotion. I thought he was going to say the boxing ring because that's the kind of guy he was, right? He stepped into the ring of emotion and he said, my whole heart is present. And I saw tears running down his face. And then he said, and I'm ready for a new way to love. Now, this is about love and relationship. However, afterwards, his boss called me and said, what did you do to him? He's a new man and a new leader. He created a ripple of connection, of love, of kindness, of peace. And so it can't start on a global scale. It's got to start on an individual scale where we each step into all that we are without holding back, being fully present to who we are, and to move and to think, feel, and act from that place.
Wow, that was so powerful. I love that, Andrea. How can people find you?
Well, I love it when people get their free emotional mastery toolkit, because when you get the toolkit, you take a quiz that only takes 5 minutes or so, and I get your blueprint and you get your emotional mastery blueprint. And then there is an invitation to a call with me. And on that call, I can tell you how your blueprint illustrates how you've shown up in your past and your present. And it also is a guide for the future you want to create. It shows me your unique combination of gifts that point to your life purpose, and also the kinds of challenges that you've likely experienced that have made it difficult to either have clarity or to live your life purpose. And I believe when people are aligned with that and living from that place, we'll have greater peace on earth. They'll be able to have those difficult conversations where everyone is seen, heard, understood, and honored. And they understand each other's perspectives and can resolve small and big problems.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Andrea, for joining us today. And I know I just loved it. I love the...
Me too. I love your energy. I love everything that you have to say, and your perspective is so wonderful. Thank you.